ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaste my dear friends. This is video number 7 on the spiritual teachings of Swami Brahmananda, a direct disciple of Bhagwan Sri Ramakrishna from Hansa. This video starts with chapter number 28. Topic is what a sadhu should do. Disciple asked Maharaj, Swami Brahmananda, Maharaj, I have been trying in various ways to bring my senses under control, but all of are of no avail. Will you tell me how can I succeed in my attempt? Swami Brahmananda replies, I will conquer lust, I will conquer anger, greed. If you try in this way, you will never conquer them. But if you can concentrate your mind on God, the senses will of themselves be curbed without much effort on your part. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the more you proceed eastwards, the further are you from the west. You have not to spend any energy to accomplish this. Take up this direct method, call upon God and pray to Him. Then the senses will lose their venomous sting in no time. The way in which you perform japam and meditation is most superficial. With such casual effort by an hour's practice or two, God can never be realized. But if you can lose yourself day and night in the contemplation of God, His name and glory, then alone will you be blessed with vision of Him, otherwise not. That is the only way. Be plunged in sadhana, heart and soul, no more waste of time. In the primary stage of your sadhana, you should go on increase your japam and meditation slowly and steadily, little by little. If today you spend an hour, a few days after add a little more time, again a few days later devote still more, and so on. In this way, you should lengthen the time of your spiritual practice more and more every day, but in momentary enthusiasm, you must never increase your japam and meditation by leaps and bounds. If you violate this law, I warn you, you will suffer badly. The reaction from the sudden increase will be too severe for you to bear unmoved. Consequently, you are likely to undergo terrible depression of mind. Then you will have no more inclination for japam and meditation. It is an arduous task to lift up a depressed mind and turn it back to sadhana once again. In all spiritual realization, His grace is most essential. Without that, no progress is possible. Therefore, for His grace, you must pray to Him with an eager heart. Pray has a wonderful efficacy of its own. Also, it is pleasing to God. In the beginning of your sadhana, you must not let yourself be swayed by any desire for enjoyment. For you, now is the time for complete abstinence, for controlling all your desires. By the grace of the Lord, when you are once well established in this practice, Then you will have no more fear of being stand by desires should they rise in your mind at any time. Again, those who have embraced the life of a monk after giving up their home and all, for them it is most unworthy to be actuated by the desire to exercise authority over others. For a monk, such a motive is the root cause of falling again into bondage. Therefore, you must be very careful about this pitfall. Whatever you may do or see, look upon it as belonging to God and upon your self as an instrument in His hand. Remember the words of the Gita. Being deluded by egotism, man calls himself the doer. lying is yet Lying is yet another great sin. Even a drunkard or a man who frequents places of ill fame can be trusted, but not the one who lies. It is the blackest of all sins in this world. You must never find fault with others nor criticize them. Such a habit is extremely detrimental to one's own good. By thinking of the evil qualities of others day and night, they will be impressed on your own mind, and that at the cost of the good tendencies that you may possess. So there is no good in fault finding, rather sing his glory and mix heartily with all and rejoice. But who will listen to this advice? It is very bad for sadhus to sit in groups to find fault with others and launch a malicious crusade against them. None but the low minded take part in such shameful actions. Always cultivate the habit of looking at the goodness of a man and doing him honor and praising him, even though only a slight trace of goodness is to be found in him. Take it from me, my boy, if you do not show due regard for others' greatness, your mind will never expand, nor will you ever be called great by others. It is not honest on the part of a sadhu to accept a householder's offerings without performing sadhana in return. The householder supplies him with food and provisions because he is expected to carry on his sadhana exclusively, withdrawing himself from all other pursuits of life. Without sadhana, therefore, you must not take a householder's service. If you disobey this rule, know that you do so at your own cost. The acceptance of holy alms in whatever shape from a householder entitles the latter to a share of the former's religious merit. Therefore, a sadhu must accumulate as much merit as will leave a decent remainder after meeting this charge. Man is composed of both good and bad tendencies, so do not slight another because only the evil ones are visible to you. But considering him as your own counterpart, try to rectify him and by love draw him towards the good. Then only do you deserve to be called a man. What is the use of crying down a fellow being? Disciple. Maharaj, on some days during my meditation, my mind of itself becomes calm and steady, while on others I cannot make it so, try I may. It runs about to and fro, how to make it steady. Sir, the Swami, as you see ebb and flow in the tide of the Ganges, my son, even so is the case with everything in this world. Your sadhana too has its ebb and flow in the beginning. However, This is not to be wondered at. By stick to your sadhana, if you can carry it on for some time, the ebb and flow will stop and your mind will flow in a smooth and unobstructed current. Whenever you feel that the mind is calm and steady, then leaving aside all work, engage yourself deeply in sadhana. Again, when you are perturbed in mind and do not feel calm, then also you must sit for your usual daily exercises and try to bring the mind under control through discrimination. The mind does not become steady all at once. You have to struggle and struggle every moment. Through struggle, the mind and senses and intellect all will surely come under control. Remember, my child, since you are a sadhu, you are expected to be calm and gentle and modest and fair spoken. Goodness must flow out through every word you utter, every action you perform, through your behavior and movements by their contact with you. Others must attain peace of mind and be drawn towards God and goodness. Disciple Maharaj, we hear of the spiritual current of holy places. May I know what that means, sir? Swami Brahmananda replies, yes, every place of pilgrimage has a time when the spiritual current begins to flow. At such a time, the mind can be easily pacified by means of japam and meditation, and also you will feel a great joy at heart. Disciple, how to know that time, sir? Swami Brahmananda replies, oh, that is not so difficult to know. A sincere man can easily catch it at a slightly advanced stage of his sadhana. Regarding Kashi, Banaras, it is wholly beyond the ordinary world. It is a place of mighty spiritual consciousness. Whatever sadhana you perform here will multiply itself tenfold. Also, the dormant line of Mantram awakens very soon in this sacred place in Kasi, the land of eternal freedom. Lord Vishwanath bestows salvation unasked on all, good or small, rich or poor, virtuous or vicious, on all alike. He who can procure an honest living in this thrice blessed home of spirituality is indeed a man among men. Chapter 29, Name of the Lord. Swami Brahmananda, do you perform prayer and meditation now? Devotee, no sir, not at all. Swami Brahmananda, it is better to do a little every day. That will give you peace of mind and steadiness. I am sure you have a family guru. Why have you not taken initiation from him? You had better receive it from him soon. Every day you should perform a little japam and meditation. Purchase a string of Rudraksha beads, dip it in the holy waters of the Ganges and touch the sacred feet of the Lord Vishwanath with it. Then perform japam with that 108 or 1,000 times daily. If you like to do more, you can safely do so and you should do. Devotee, what shall I repeat, sir? Swami Brahmananda, the blessed name of the Lord, among his various names, that one which inspires the greatest faith and devotion in you, that is the name you should choose for your japam. Devotee, again without a form, meditation is not possible. What form shall I meditate upon and where? Swami Brahmananda replies, you must meditate upon that one of the many forms of him you like best. You can place him in the heart or outside. A wise guru, however, will understand the particular form of God that calls forth the greatest faith and regard from the disciple and will instruct him to meditate on that. Then there is mental worship as you do external worship with offerings of flowers, sandal paste, burning of camphor. Exactly so is the worship in the mind. In the mind, you have to picture the form of deity you choose. In the mind, you are to offer all the holy things used in worship. And in the mind, again, you have to adore him with all the reverence and devotion of your heart in humble supplication. You have heard enough. Now do something and show your worthiness. No more waste of time. Begin from this day, this very evening. For the present, do these two things, japam and meditation, every morning and evening without fail, and continue this habit for a couple of years at least. Then you will find great joy. You will come to us more frequently and will know more and more of spiritual mysteries. So much for the present. I shall tell you in time what more practices you have to take up. Now you need not bother yourself about the mental worship. Leave it for the time being. After your formal initiation, if I think you should do it, I will tell you. Regarding initiation itself, you need not worry over that at this stage. Now only do as much as instructed and nothing more. No more wasting of time, my child. Begin this very day and go bravely on. Procure a very new asanam or rug to sit upon. Keep it apart to be used solely for meditation, worship, and such things. Also, choose a solitary retreat for your meditation and sadhana. Your garden house, I imagine, stands in a very lonely place. If you feel inconvenient or disturbed at home now and then, retire there at night. Remember always that here in this sacred city of Kasi, spiritual realization is easily attainable. If you can carry on your sadhana for 2 years at a stretch, I am sure you will gain some realization. There are those who have attained still sooner in a year. Even so, begin now, and after the lapse of some time, you will feel so much joy at heart that you will like to meditate more and more. Frequent holy places, study sacred books, and come to me now and then. While meditating, sit erect and cross legged and hold your hands near your chest or the upper abdomen. Do not begin your meditation immediately after taking your posture. Sit silently for a couple of minutes or so and try to make the mind calm so that no alien thoughts may cross it. Then only is meditation to be begun in right earnest. For a year or two, you will have to exert your mind to the limit of its power. Thereafter, meditation will become natural to you. If any day you are hard pressed with work, that day you may sit for meditation only once or may finish it in a few minutes, say in 10 or 15 minutes. In the event of greater pressure, fix your mind on God for a moment, then bow down to Him and close your meditation. You can do this in exceptional cases but not always. Before your morning service, wash your hands and face and dress yourself in clean, freshly washed clothes. Then sit for your practice. You may also take a little of the sacred Ganges water. In the evening, also follow the same routine. I assure you once more, if you do these things regularly, you will enjoy a great peace of mind and will live happily. Regarding moral conduct, observe these two rules: speak the truth always, and honor and worship all women as mother. Nothing more and need you trouble yourself with now. The observance of these two rules will make all other moral rules living through your life. Believe in the existence of God and never say He does not exist. I tell you, my child, God is, therefore hold fast to Him in sincere devotion and in lowliness of spirit, and pray and pray. No more speculations, no more waste of time, no more idleness. Begin now this very day and move forward. I will see to the rest. Chapter 30. The process of meditation. Disciple Maharaj, some meditate on the ideal in the heart, some think of it in the heart. I see it outside as I see you, which is the proper way, sir. Swami Brahmananda. The process of meditation differs according to the differences in sadhana. Ordinarily, it is better to meditate on the ideal in the heart. The body should be considered as the temple and God as residing in it. When the mind becomes steady through continued spiritual practices, then alone can a man have a vision of his Ishtam chosen deity, and whenever he realizes him, head or heart there, he can carry on his meditation with ease. Through persistence in the meditation, the first experience that a man gets is the perception of a hallowed effulgence, and simultaneously with that experience, or a little later, a kind of higher and nobler joy is felt, and the mind is reluctant to move onward, leaving that joy. But if one goes further, he sees the effulgence taking more definite form, and the mind tends to merge itself in that form of consciousness. Sometimes the mind can be completely obliterated by continuously hearing the long sacred sound of the Parnava Om, the sound symbol of Dharma. Spiritual realization knows no bounds. The more you know, the more you remains to be known. It is unbounded, infinite. By experiencing a little of that effulgence, many think they have reached the end, but the fact is quite otherwise. According to some, again, when the mind ceases to be active, then true religion begins. But others believe that that is the end. Disciple. Generally, we find that the mind, after making some progress along the spiritual path, cannot advance further. What makes it stop, Venerable Sir? Swami Brahmananda replies, the weakness of the mind is solely responsible for this mental torpor. According to its capacity, the mind moves on to a certain point, then stops. It cannot advance more. All minds are not of the same capacity, although all can be and must be developed. Sri Ramakrishna has said that through brahmacharya the mind can be strengthened more and more, and a strong mind never wavers even when overtaken by lust and anger. To such a mind, these passions are trifles. It is firmly convinced that these can do it no harm. Many are the pitfalls that stand in the way of sadhana. External troubles are negligible compared to the internal. Hence, the many injunctions for Asanam posture and mudra position of fingers in religious worship. Disciple Maharaj, you call each one of us to you and inquire about our spiritual progress and our difficulties. You give us new courage and enthusiasm. Your encouragement takes away all fear and anxiety and makes us bold and uncompromising. Swami Brahmananda, such an attitude of mind does not always come, my child. At times, of course, the mind is in such a state that I feel I could entreat you all one by one, even touching your feet and saying, do this, my son, do this, I implore you. But again, I think, who am I to instruct you in all this? The Lord is there, and as He makes us do, so it is done. Whom to ask? The Lord Himself is the cause, the Lord Himself is the instrument, and He Himself is all. Why should people take my words even though they ask me? But when you know, my boy, when the inspiration comes from within, then people do take them and follow them. Strive on, my son, strive on and on. Do not waste a moment. At the close of each day, Sri Ramakrishna wept and prayed, Mother, another day is gone and I am not yet blessed with thy vision. Even so, yearn after God, my child, and be lost in him. Chapter 31 True Vision Disciple Maharaj is grace conditional. Swami Brahmananda replies Sri Ramakrishna has said that when it is hot man fans himself, but when the cool breeze sets in, he stops fanning. Even so with grace, disciple. What is the distinction between the true vision of God and hallucination? How to distinguish them, sir? Swami Brahmananda replies, from the true vision of God results a lasting bliss. One's own mind knows it instinctively. Disciple, Maharaj, what is the necessity of mudra, position of fingers and other rituals in formal worship? Swami Brahmananda, the mind is disturbed by many evil influences. The right sort of mudra helps the worshipper in warding them off. Sometimes you may think that you are all right and that if you meditate, your mind will become concentrated. But as you sit for meditation, within 5 minutes, various distractions crop up in the mind and shake its balance. Once an evil thought rose in me, and as I approached the master from a distance, he divined it and said, My boy, I see that an evil thought is disturbing your mind. So saying, he placed his hand on my head in blessing and uttered some words inaudibly. Within 5 minutes, it had gone. When the mind moves on higher planes, no evil influence can reach there and agitate it. Disciple Maharaj, I have heard that meditation should be preceded by the worship of the Guru, but I do not know how to conduct it. Pray tell me how, sir. Swami Brahmananda, it is not essential. The worship of the Ishtam is enough. Disciple, pray tell me how to worship the Guru. Swami Brahmananda, you can learn how from Swami Premananda. Disciple, no sir, I beg you to tell me. He may not tell me at all. Swami Brahmananda, very well. At first you should meditate upon the Guru in the heart. Then after a while imagine him as merging himself in the Ishtam. Then begin to repeat the sacred name of your Ishtam and meditate upon his blessed form and thus continue. Chapter 32 What is Tapasya? His Holiness Swami Brahmananda spent the last days of his life on this earth in the head monastery of the Ramakrishna mission on the bank of the Ganges above Calcutta. The conversation which follows took place during this time. It was the evening of the 17th March of 1922. The venerable figure of the Swami was seated on the western veranda of the Math monastery. A group of disciples sat on the floor in the front of him. As the older sadhus of the order finished their evening meditation, they came one by one to bow at the Swami's feet in reverent salutation. The stillness of prayer and contemplation was in air, broken only by the murmur of his swift flowing waters and the faint sound of vesper chants from surrounding temples. Suddenly, through the silence came the question, Maharaj ji, what is meant by tapasya? Swami Brahmananda, there are different kinds of tapasya. Some take a vow that they will not sit for a long period. I have seen a man who had taken a vow not to sit for 12 years. At the time he had almost finished that period, only 5 or 6 months were remaining. By constantly standing, his legs had grown very stout as in elephantiasis. For sleeping, he held to a rope. The rope was tied to both ends of a wooden piece, holding to which the man slept at night. There are other kinds of tapasyas. In the winter season, one stands all night up to the neck in very cold water and spends the time in making japam. In very hot weather, one sits and meditates in the midst of five blazing dhunis under a burning sun. In another kind, one stands or sits in meditation on a seat with pointed nails. Devotee, is this truth, Pasha Maharaj? Swami Brahmananda? Heaven knows. These people do these things with some motive. They hope they will become kings or enjoy the world in their next birth. They have admitted this to me. Devotee, do they get these results, Swami? Heaven knows, devotee. Then what is real tapasya? Swami Brahmananda, real tapasya is not in such feats. Anyone can do these things by practice. It is very easy to conquer the body, but to conquer the mind is the greatest difficulty. To conquer lust, greed, desire for name and fame, real tapasya lies in three things. Number one, you must be very truthful. Truth is the pillar to which you must always hold. Every inch of you must be truthful. Number two, you must get rid of lust. Number three, you must gain control over your vasanas. These are the main things to be observed. Of these, the second is the most important, that is brahmacharya. Real tapasya lies here. Our shastras say that by observing brahmacharya for 12 years very strictly, God becomes easy to realize. This is very difficult. I can tell you from my own experience. I have learned that no true meditation is possible without real brahmacharya. It is very difficult to get control over the sukshma vasana, so the rules for sannyasin are very strict. The sannyasin should not even look at a woman. By seeing one, a picture is formed in the mind. When we see anything beautiful to the senses, our natural instinct is to enjoy it. So we unconsciously enjoy in our mind. This is very injurious. If a sadhu sees a woman in a dream or gets night pollution, he has to make prashchitam. He has to make little food the next day or no food at all, and he has to make penance by making japam for thousands of times. Without brahmacharya, the mind will not gain the power to meditate. The mind will be thinking of this or that and will not think of his feet. You will not get the correct imagination. When you develop a brahmacharya, you will see everything in a different light. Everything will look fresh to you. By observing brahmacharya, ojas is aroused in you. Science also says the same thing. Semen, they say, is produced from blood and the best part of the blood. Devotee, it is a pity that nobody with authority speaks about these things to our young boys, Swami. Formerly, young boys lived with their gurus and they had to observe brahmacharya. After a time, they could go home and marry, but if they married, they continued to observe certain rules of brahmacharya. That in the grihastha's asrama life they might produce strong and healthy children. If they became sannyasis, they went to the forest and meditated on God, devotee. These ideas about brahmacharya are known only among Brahmin boys. As young boys, they are called brahmacharis. But now it has become a mere farce. Maharaji, cannot these ideas be made known to all caste? Swamiji, yes, but brahmacharya should be accompanied by japam, otherwise brahmacharya cannot stand. Letters and stray counsels. Chapter 33. Letter to a disciple. Bhadrak Balasore. Dear A, I am glad to learn from your letter that by the grace of the Lord you have a desire to spend some time in sadhana, spiritual practices, and have secured a convenient place for your practice. Everything has come out all right. You are yet young. Make the best use of this opportunity. Do not waste your valuable time. Instead of bothering yourself with big metaphysical problems, apply yourself steadily to sadhana and you will realize the truth. Have faith and go ahead. You will not achieve anything without steady practice. Even if you spend your whole life in the study of philosophical questions, you will not be able to derive any benefit. Now that all things are favorable, settle down quietly to sadhana at least for a year. Your body and mind will become pure and you will realize many things through God's grace. My advice is give your mind wholly to Him without any other thought. Engage yourself always in dhyana meditation, japam, repeating the holy name, and samran manan, constant remembrance and contemplation. Do not indulge in idle talk and gratuitous advice to others. You have strength of body and your mind is not yet burdened with unholy impressions. Now is the time to do spiritual practices. It is easier to give the mind a good shape when it is still pure and plastic. You have such a mind, therefore plunge deep in sadhana and pray to God with a yearning heart. He will solve all your doubts and difficulties. If you miss this opportunity, it will be extremely difficult for you to do anything afterwards. As far as possible, I am giving you suitable answer to all your questions below. If you can follow them for some time, at least you will surely be blessed and many of your life's problems will solve themselves. Question: how many hours in the day should we spend in japam and meditation, and how many again in puja, worship, and the study of scriptures? Answer: the more time you can spend in all these, the better for you. Those who lead a purely meditative life should spend at least 16 hours in japam and dhyanam. As you continue your practice, you will be able to prolong this period. The more the mind is turned inward, the greater will be the joy. Once you get a taste of it, the desire for it will grow stronger and stronger. Then your mind itself will tell you how long you are to devote to sadhana. Before this stage is reached, it is desirable that you should give at least two-thirds of your daily practice to japam and dhyanam. The rest of the time should be spent in reading sacred books and examining the various thoughts which rise in the mind at the time of your meditation. You should further see that good thoughts are shifted from the evil ones, then gradually all unholy thoughts are to be eliminated and replaced one by holy thoughts, and these again analyzed with great care and seriousness. In this way, when all the disturbing elements of the mind are controlled and well regulated, you can attain the state of real meditation. Simply closing the eyes and counting your beads or casually thinking on God will not bring you the desired object. God realization, intense and serious thinking on God is what is required of those who long for eternal peace and happiness. The object of meditation is to make the mind calm and serene, and if you do not succeed in this or get any joy therefrom, you are to know that your meditation is not directed in the proper channel. One other point also I should like to impress upon your mind, that is this: whoever is plying you with food and other necessaries is entitled to a share of your merit. Therefore, acquire so much as will leave you a decent balance after meeting this charge. Question: what should I do when at times the mind seems unwilling to meditate? Should I then study sacred books or try to engage the mind perforce in meditation? Answer. In the preliminary stages, you must force your mind to meditate in order to cultivate a strong habit. The very nature of the mind is to seek work, always seeking for ease and comfort. But if you really yearn for peace eternal, you have to labor hard. If you feel uncomfortable to sit for a long time at a stretch, then lie down on your bed and begin to perform your japam. And again, if you are sleepy, do it walking about any how keep the mind always engaged in the thought of God. On other hand, if you let loose your mind, you will never be able to cultivate the firm habit without which spiritual progress is impossible. Carry on, therefore, a regular fight with the mind and give it a firm shape. This is sadhana, and the end of all sadhanas is to bring the mind under control. Question. Are the processes of hatha yoga, pranayama, control of breath, asana, sitting posture, etc., more or less necessary for my spiritual practices? If so, how much time should be devoted to these? Answer. For the present, no such practice are necessary for you. What is most essential is to meditate on God and God alone and pray to Him incessantly with a devout mind heart. The real thing is to be in constant touch with Him. Therefore, try to follow this rule and He will lead you do whatever is best for you. As regards the practice of Hatha Yoga, you must keep yourself aloof from it on. You will feel the consequences. It is a most dangerous path without the help of a competent guide. If you have a very strong desire for it, you can do it only when you happen to live with someone of Sri Ramakrishna's disciples and then strictly under his direction and guidance. Question. How long should a sadhaka, one who is doing spiritual practices, sleep? Beyond his usual period of sleep, can he spend a little more time to give his body and mind rest? Answer is ordinarily 4 hours sleep is quite sufficient for a sadhaka in good health, and sleep for more than 5 hours is not rest but a disease. It does great harm. By no means should a spiritual aspirant sleep away his time, as youth is the most favorable time for sadhana. When both the body and the mind are strong, a sadhaka must turn it to good account. During this time, he must store up such an amount of spiritual energy that it will lead him safely through the most unsafe paths of life to peace and happiness. Therefore, if you cannot make progress along the paths of spiritual life now, it will be hardly possible for you to do anything afterwards. You are yet young, my boy. Give a good shape to your mind. Lose yourself, heart and soul in sadhana and make the best use of your time. You will get enough time for sleep and gossip later on. If anybody is asked to labor hard in sadhana, you will at once produce a number of lame excuses. He will say that the body is very weak and that rest is necessary. All this is insincerity. He should know that the sense organs of those who are methodical in their spiritual practices and who lead a strictly regular life become so adjusted that 4 hours rest is quite enough to keep the body healthy and in tune. By leading an irregular life, people generally tax their body and mind so heavily that even a period of 8 or 10 hours sleep is too short to refresh their system. Therefore, what I ask you, my boy, is this: regulate your life by every means, and then your body and mind will be fresh and active. Waste no more time, do something if you really yearn for things divine. Idle talk and lofty metaphysical speculations bring no good unless translated into action. Question. What rules are to be observed regarding food? Shall I accept whatever is offered to me or make any distinction? Which is better? Madhukari, food gathered by begging from house to house like a bee, or food brought by chance? Answer. At the time of sadhana, a little discrimination in food is necessary. There are some kinds of food which produce sleep, drowsiness, etc. They are the worst enemies to a sadhaka. Therefore, it is always advisable not to take them. To eat it too much sweet or sour food is bad, and kolai dal or any preparation of it is also harmful to the growth of the spiritual life. Foods such as these stir up the tamas dullness in man. As a result, he feels drowsy at the time of meditation and cannot make any progress in the spiritual path. An aspirant must be very careful about his diet and eat only such foods as are easily digestible. Under no circumstances must he fill more than two-thirds of his stomach. This will increase his strength and energy, and he will be able to devote time to good account. But if the stomach is overloaded, he will have to spend all his energy in digesting his food. He will find no energy or inclination for meditation. Moreover, it may tell upon his health. For as you know full well, good health is favorable to sadhana, so guard it by all means and care for it now when everything is in your favor. As regards Madhukari, it is very pure food. It does not bind you to any obligation. But if you accept food from a particular person, it binds, and a fraction of your merit will go to that person. Madhukari is especially beneficial to those who cannot continue the flow of meditation without break and consequently require some time or diversion. Instead of whiling away their time of diversion in idle talk, if they utilize in Madhukari, they are thereby not only saved from the sin of killing time in vain, but they also keep themselves free from the obligation of giving a portion of their merit in return for their food from any particular person. I stop this video here. Next video, number 8. We'll start with the question, is the vow of silence necessary at the time of sadhana? So thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar my dear friends.